The next stitch on our sampler is called the chain stitch. The chain stitch is also a stitch that you will find in embroidery as a decorative element, but here it's really highly functional in that it locks fabric into place. So it's great if you have an area of your garment that's gathered instead of being on one thread that's woven through, and where the gathers will shift back and forth. The chain stitch can stabilize each one of those gathers, so it's a really good one to know. The chain stitch is always used as a double thread, so it is a place where I give you permission to use a double thread, and it's very, very important that you remember to wax your thread when you do this stitch. So let's go on and I'll show you how to do the chain stitch. Okay, I've waxed my thread. I have a double thread with a knot at the end, and I'm ready to go. So with this stitch, I'm going to start by coming through the back. I'm now going to put my needle in right next to where I came out, and I'm going to come out the distance that I want depending on the size of the stitch that I want, and I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to wrap it around the needle, and then I'm going to pull, and you see I'm going to get a chain stitch. Going to do that again. I'm going to go back in. Now I'm going back inside the loop right next to the other thread. I'm going to come out the same distance as the last time. Make sure my thread is wrapped around my needle and pull. You could see in the example I gave you that this is also used for decorative purposes. It will sail right along if you wax your thread. If not, you know how thread can crimp and give you a hard time. It certainly will on this stitch, especially when you're working double. The goal for all sewing is to not have too much thread involved. So double thread for hems and doesn't really give you the protection that you think it does, because once a thread breaks, it breaks. So again, I'm going in right next to my last stitch. I'm coming out and I'm wrapping my thread around my needle so it's underneath and pulling. And that's my chain stitch.